Hello everyone, this is it, last part of Heroes. Aww, right, see the conclusion, have a bit of a chat afterwards about it, it's an interesting conclusion, I'll say no more. Hello everyone, and I nearly cut us off before we went on air. Miss Tompkins, hello miss, having a good question about toilet rolls, which are essential, and I will get to in a minute, but if you've ever live streamed off a laptop, on Facebook, you will know that when underneath the comment section, for me to be able to put a comment up, there's a big red end live video button, and every time I put a comment, I feel the urge to just hit that button because it's right underneath the comments, but that would cut us off completely. So I managed to avoid that. The reason Mrs. is asking about toilet rolls is that, as I mentioned to you, I have completed now my toilet rolls for an Inspector Calls. Quite pleased about that. I've never actually read an Inspector Calls out loud because the people's always do it. So I'm going to use the toilet rolls, not to act it out. It's not going to get weird. It might get a bit weird, but not like that. But I'll put them to show who's speaking, if you like, and I'll try and adopt stupid accents. Anyway, we're here for Heroes now. Last part today. Quick recap then. So yesterday, Francis goes to see Larry LaSalle to kill him. He can't bring himself to kill him, but Larry LaSalle kills himself and says, "You have achieved your mission." Then, at the end of it, hello Alfie, Francis, beg your pardon, goes to see the nuns, and where we left it yesterday, he asked the nuns at the convent, "Where's Nicole?" This is interesting, isn't it? His initial plan was kill Larry, then kill himself. The fact that he's trying to see Nicole again, well, is that just to finally, he said earlier about closing all the doors. Does he need to resolve that somehow, or has he now got a bit more hope? Does he now think he can keep going? Well, let's find out. Seems like a reasonable thing to do, doesn't it? Okay. So he's just asked her about going, and the way that she responds shows him that she doesn't know about Larry LaSalle and Nicole. Nicole's not said anything about it. Maybe it would be good to have a friend from Frenchtown visit her. It's hard for a young person like Nicole to move away from her friends. Do you have her address, sister? She wrote me a letter a few weeks ago. She's in her senior year now at St. Anne's, an academy of the Sisters of the Holy Spirit. I have her address upstairs in my bureau. A few minutes later, we stand at the front door, our fingers touching tentatively as we shake hands. I've never touched a nun's flesh before. She lets go of my hand and touches the bandage on my face. I hope your face heals soon, Francis. A doctor I met in the service is going to help me. He's a specialist. I'll be as good as new pretty soon. I wonder if it's a special lie, a special sin to lie to a nun. A moment later, I leave Sister Matilda in the convent behind, Nicole Reynard's address in my pocket. Okay, so he has got Nicole's address. Well, maybe slightly surprising, although after their last meeting, maybe he wants to somehow get some resolution. But he did say there, when he told Sister Matilda that he was going to get treatment, I wonder if it's a special sin to lie to a nun, so we would assume from that he still intends to kill himself. Okay. For one lightning moment, I don't recognise her. Fail to see Nicole Reynard, the girl who has just entered the room. The long black hair that fell to her shoulders is gone. Now her hair is cut short and combed straight and flat, with wisps touching her ears. Her cheekbones are more prominent, and her eyes seem to be bigger. I look at her as if studying a painting in a museum, searching for that glimpse of mischief in her eyes, but see only the question there. I noticed how all three characters have undergone this transformation. So Francis, most obviously, of course, his face is, as he puts it, blown away. Larry returns from war and has a walking stick now. He's no longer the physical specimen that he used to be. And here we see Nicole, who, like Larry, he said he looked leaner and sharper. Somehow she does. Her cheekbones are more prominent. The glimpse of mischief isn't there anymore. Remember I said about America, the war bringing a loss of innocence, and here we have the characters having a loss of innocence as well, coinciding with that. They get the high point of the party after the table tennis and the concert, and then it goes down from there. They're never the same. Hi, Jamie. So she doesn't recognise him, obviously. Francis, I announced, the way I did with Larry LaSalle and Sister Matilda. Francis Cassavant. She's wearing a green cardigan, unbuttoned, a white blouse underneath, and a green plaid skirt, the uniform of the school. I saw other students dressed the same way when I entered the academy ground earlier this afternoon. As she advances towards me, her face is inscrutable, and I wonder if my coming is a mistake, whether I should have written to her first. Instead, I took the train from Monument to Worcester, then to Albany, and a taxi to St. Anne's Academy. I convinced a nun at a desk in the administration building that I was harmless, a wounded veteran and a school friend of Nicole Reynard's from Monument. And she ushered me finally into this parlour of plain furniture, paintings of saints on the panelled walls, and an old classroom clock whose hands are frozen at 6:30. Just like a Mice and Men circular plot. He meets Nicole in a classroom, and then it's this naive, cute, romantic scene. He meets her again in a school, but now it's dull and drab. The clock, the hands are frozen. Time is not moving on. I said all along, her white blouse, is that a symbol of something? Before what happens to her, the white blouse, the symbol of purity. It glows in the dark, as Joey LeBlanc says to a daft to her in the distance. It's ripped after the rape, and now she's wearing a bright blouse, but now with the green cardigan of the uniform over it. Again, is that symbolising something, that things are different now? This terrible thing has been done to her. She has lost that innocence. I couldn't imagine who my visitor was, Nicole says, walking past me to the floor-to-ceiling glass door that looks out over a tennis court and green fields beyond. Maybe it was foolish of me to think that we would hug or even shake hands. Sorry, that was him saying that. You've come a long way, she says. So have you. She frowns and her eyes show concern. How are you, Francis? Your face... This is nothing, I say, gesturing towards a bandage and a scarf. It's not as bad as it looks. My skin is healing. There's a doctor who's took care of me overseas. He's going to fix my face up. They call it cosmetic surgery when he gets back from the service. Still lying, but this time not to a nun. So he's still saying he's going to kill himself. I heard about your Silver Star, jumping on that grenade and saving all those lives. Remember Marie Lacroix? She writes me now and then, sends me news about Frenchtown. How about you, Nicole? How are you doing? I don't want to talk about that grenade. Firstly, he doesn't want to talk about the grenade, despite Larry's assurance that he would have done it anyway. He still feels shame. And it's different, isn't it? When he saw her after what Larry did to her, he doesn't know how to handle the situation, but he does now, doesn't he? He doesn't want to talk about him. He wants to talk about her. So he says, how are you? Fine, she says, but the softness is gone from her face and her voice is sharp and brittle. The girls here are very nice. Nuns are nuns, of course, but at least they don't use rulers of discipline here, so I'm fine. You don't sound fine. I'm sorry about one thing, she says. What I did to you that day. Did to me? What day? I should have said those things to you that day on the piazza. You weren't to blame for what happened. I realised that later. I went to your Uncle Louis's place, but found out that you enlisted. We fall silent, and she returns to the window, looking out as if something very interesting is going on out there. I join her and watch two girls in white blouses and shorts playing tennis. The ball, when it lands, doesn't have the sharp sound of a ping pong ball on a table or a gunshot. Oh, isn't it horrible? So remember when that conversation I was talking about, and then he goes off, joins the army. He goes off, looks to kill himself, and then joins the army. She felt bad about it. She felt she shouldn't have done that to him, and went to him to apologise, but it's too late. He's already gone to join the army. Oh. Sorry. He's dead, you know. It's easy to say the words because I'm not looking at her. I know. He was, don't say it, Francis. I know what he was. For a while there, he made me feel special. Made us all feel special. Made me think I was a ballerina. Now I'm just starting to find out what I am. Who I really am. Who are you, Nicole? I told you. I'm just finding out. As if impatient with the question. Then, how about you, Francis? How are you? What are you going to do now that you're back? I prepared my answer while riding on the train. Go to high school. College later. The GI Bill pays for college for veterans. The words sound flat and false to my ears. Are you going to write? I always thought you'd be a writer. I don't know. Which is the truth, for a change. Silence falls between us, broken only by the swish of the tennis racket and the plopping of the ball outside and the distant laughter of a girl in a corridor somewhere. The tennis, just like the table tennis, that description of the plop, but he said the sounds are different. It's the same two people. They're together again, but it's not the same. There are differences. It sort of feels circumstantially the same, the table tennis or the tennis, but it's different. Why did you come here today? She asks. The question surprises me. Didn't she know I'd track her down sooner or later? I wanted to see you again, to tell you I'm sorry too for what happened, to see if I was all right, to see if I'd survived. That bitter twist back in her voice again. To see if maybe you could still be my girl, which could maybe change my mind about the gun in my duffel bag. So he's thinking that, yeah? Well, I'm all right. Lifts her hands, palms upwards. What you see is what you get. A brave smile on her lips. For once in my life, I'm not timid with her. I don't think so, Nicole. Don't think what? I don't think you're all right. She looks at me for a long moment, as still as the stopped clock on the wall. Did you ever tell anyone about it, Nicole? Did you ever talk about it? A question seems to startle her. Who was I going to tell? My mother and father? Who would have killed them? Ruined them forever? Or maybe my father would have killed him, which would have been worse. The police? He was a big war hero. He didn't beat me up. No visible wounds, so I didn't tell anybody. All I said to my parents was that I didn't want to live in Frenchtown anymore. My father was ready to come back here anyway. This is his hometown. And we came, no questions asked. I think they were afraid to ask questions. She backs away, as if she needs to distance herself from me. Okay, she says, if I'm not exactly all right, then She screws up her face, searching for the right word. I'm adjusting, getting better at it all the time. When Marie Lacroix started writing to me, that monument postmark gave me the shivers. I tore up that first letter, but she persisted. Now I read them and even write back. She sighs as if suddenly out of breath. It's almost 3 years, Francis, and sometimes I can think of Frenchtown without the shivers. And then her voice falters and her eyes lower. And then I come walking in. She shakes her head. For a minute there, when you said your name, I almost panicked, and I'm sorry. Because you were part of the good times, Francis. Always so shy. I couldn't help teasing you. Those movie matinees, our long talks walking home. Reminiscence gentles her voice. So we talk about those days, and she confesses that she really didn't like those cowboy serials and their fake endings every week, but pretended to, for my sake. And I tell her that I was embarrassed that my palm was always wet when we held hands, and she says her palm was wet too. She says that Marie Lacroix was thinking of becoming a nun, which would liven up any convent. She tells me about the routine at St. Anne's, that she wants to be a teacher. English, maybe. Don't bother. She asks me about the war, and I keep it light, telling her the harmless things about the crowded troopship going across, and how the quality of sunlight in France is different somehow than in America. We run out of words. Silence falls between us. magnifying the sounds of the table tennis game outside, the plopping of the ball. Finally, she reaches towards me. "Your poor face," she says, moving as if to touch the white scarf, but I step away. "I don't want you to see me this way," I tell her. "When the doctor fixes up my face, I'll send you a picture." "Promise?" "Promise," I answer, although I know that I will never keep that promise, and that she probably doesn't expect me to. She looks at me with affection. But affection is not love. I've known all the time we've been talking that we're filling up the empty spaces between us with words. I've known that I've lost her a long time ago. "I've got to go," I say, my gift to her. She nods almost eagerly, glances at her watch. "The bell's going to ring any minute now. We live by bells around here." She comes to me and doesn't reach for my face this time, but takes my hand. "Still moist," she says, tenderness in her voice. "My good Francis, my table tennis champion, my Silver Star hero." Hero. The word hangs in the air. I don't know what a hero is anymore, Nicole. I think of Larry LaSalle and his Silver Star, and my own Silver Star for an act of cowardice. "Write about it, Francis. Maybe you can find the answer that way." "Do you think I can?" "Of course you can," a trace of impatience in her voice, like the Nicole Renard I knew at the rec centre just before the table tennis competition, urging me on, telling me I could win. She steps away. "Look, I've got to go," suddenly brisk and hurried. "Can I come again sometime?" I ask, hating myself for asking, because I know the answer. It's as inevitable as the answer to an arithmetic problem Sister Matilda wrote on the blackboard. "Oh, Francis," she says. The words weighted with sadness, and I see the answer in her eyes. She reaches up and presses her lips against the damp scarf that covers my own lips. I expect a flash of pain, but there's only the pressure of her lips, and I close my eyes, clinging to the moment, wanting it to last forever. "Have a good life, Francis. Be whatever will make you happy." The bell rings, freezing us together for a moment, and when I open my eyes, she's gone. The room vacant, her footsteps echoing down the hallway until only silence is left. Oh, okay. So, sir behind you. Oh, wow. At first I saw the first behind you, I thought, yeah, it's nice.
No, just say I'm back.
You're back?
She said no, so.
So you haven't done it?
No.
Oh.
No.
This is really mysterious, everyone, isn't it? You're going to stay for the last page and a half of the book? No, maybe not.
Just say I said I'll go back in an hour.
Going back in an hour? Oh.
That day, baby.
I'll join you then. Okie dokie.
I am wrong.
Behind you! I felt bad last week because I realised everyone was tiptoeing around the house because when I did this, and I said to her, "Look, don't worry about it, come on in, do whatever." But I had no idea she was there. Oh dear. Anyway, sorry. So Francis has gone to see Nicole. He knows really that that relationship can't start up again. But he can't stop himself asking that question at the end, can he? They've changed. They're both totally different people. They've been through that trauma. They've lost their innocence. They need to move on with their own lives now, don't they? They can't go back to how it was. I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? But can I just point something out as well? She admitted to him that, remember they said that she went to the cinema, she said that she didn't really like those cowboy serials and their fake endings every week, but she pretended to for my sake. She doesn't like those cowboy serials with their fake endings. Yeah. And so Robert Cormier, in writing this, has not given us a fake ending. So he doesn't tell us that, oh, in the end they got back together and it was lovely. Because that's not realistic, is it? That would be a fake ending. Too much pain and trauma has happened between them. They can't They can't have that. He wants this to be real, not fake. So even though we really like Francis and Nicole, they can't be together. It wouldn't make sense. Okay, right, like I say, page and a half left. So what's going to happen here with Francis? Well, let's be a fake ending. It's a fascinating piece of writing, this, and I don't know if you've got the books or not. I strongly recommend for GCSE literature, get the books. Look online. People, especially now, with the exams not happening this year, people will be selling their copies of these books. Get a second-hand copy. Just get something cheap. Or get the real thing. I got this on my Kindle. I think it was £4, something like that. Have I got a copy of my spectacles? Oh, flame it now. I hope I got a copy of my spectacles. So it just hit me. Get a copy. You need to get a copy. You can make notes, you can highlight, and all the 3 texts that you do. You'll be doing lots next year on it. So get them. For those of you who haven't got the text, I'm going to show you it after I've read this ending, because it's important. So anyway. Oh, I should have screenshotted it. What a dingus, never mind. Okay, end of the book. Let's get round to it. In the railroad station, sitting on the hard bench, I watched the people coming and going in a late afternoon rush, on their way somewhere, with suitcases and briefcases. A freckle-faced girl struggling under a knapsack on her back. 2 sailors sitting on the marble floor playing cards. A master sergeant marches across the lobby as if leading an invisible platoon. Uniform crisp, an army of ribbons on his chest. A young guy watches him, unshaven, wearing an old battle jacket, soiled and stained. He follows the sergeant with half-closed eyes, then sags against the wall, smiling dreamily. But the smile turns into a grimace, and I wonder what he's thinking of or remembering. I remember what I said to Nicole about not knowing who the real heroes are, and I think of my old platoon. Sonny Orlandi, Spooks Riley and Blinky Chambers, Eddie Richards and his diarrhea, Erwin Eisenberg, Henry Johnson hit by shrapnel, and those who died, Jack Smith and Billy O'Brien and all the others. I think of Enrico minus his legs, his arm. I think of Arthur Riviere drunk and mournful that night in the alley. We were only there. Scared kids, not born to fight and kill. Who were not only there, but who stayed, did not run away, fought the good war, and never talk about it, and didn't receive a silver star, but heroes anyway, the real heroes. Maybe if I'm going to write, as Nicole hopes I will, I should write about them. Maybe I should buy a typewriter and get started. Maybe I should try to find Dr. Abrams' telephone number in Kansas City. Maybe I should track down Enrico, check out those hospitals he told me about. I should do all those things. I think of Nicole. I think of the gun inside the duffel bag at my feet. I pick up the duffel bag and sling it over my shoulder. The weight is nice and comfortable on my back as I cross the lobby, heading for the exit and the next train to leave the station. The end. Okay, I love that ending. But it's an ambiguous ending, would you say? Ambiguous meaning it's not totally clear what will happen. Is he going to kill himself? Or is he going to write the book as going to see Nicole, giving him that closure with her, and then she has given him the gift of a purpose, something to carry on with? I think I know what Cormier is saying. I reckon. But can't be 100% certain, because no fake endings. He doesn't give you that clear, so I decided I'd go on and live a happy life, and now I've got 18 children and a dog called Joey. Oh, a white dog called Joey. Joey LeBlanc. Eh? Joey the white blonde friend. Forget it. Tough crowd. You're all right in the pantomime, aren't you? All those behind you stuff. I said I wanted to show. Well, actually, no. Before that, I want to say that ending. He sort of encapsulates that message of what's a real hero. He's sitting there waiting. Oh, now nice point. Yeah, absolutely. Good move by Mark Lamar there. She apologised, sorry. She apologised to him. Maybe he can move on. Yeah. And also, she said, the same as Larry, you couldn't have stopped him. You've got to let that go. Meeting Larry and Nicole has given him positive messages, even though it's ironic that Larry is one of them. But then that's what Larry does. He does make a positive difference in people's lives, unless he's ruining them. You see what I mean? There's a clumsy way of putting it. You would have fallen like grenades. You're that sort of person. You'd put other people first. You couldn't have stopped me. And her saying you couldn't have stopped him. So, yeah, he's got a chance to move on. It does feel more positive. The last time he says he's lying, the previous 2 times when he sort of said, I'm lying, shouldn't lie to anyone, he is directly saying, I'm going to kill myself. But that last time he does this, Nicole, he doesn't, does he? He just says, I know I'm not going to keep the promise to send a picture to her, and she knows it as well. That's not saying he's going to kill himself, just he's not going to send the picture. So was he softening a bit? I will, because of your excellent comment, I will move on actually and to what we think's going to happen. Can I just show you? Hang on a second. Right, I've not got. I'll just make sure that that's visible. Can you see there the actual format? That sounds daft thing to say, although this would be good with unseen poetry as well. Good technique. The format, what it actually looks like. Never mind what the words are, what it looks like, yeah? All these really short sentences. And look at the start of those short sentences at the end. Sorry, I got wrong myself. There's maybe. Then I should, if I remember correctly. I think. Okay. Now, always remember in English literature, well, any English, actually, or language as well, when a writer writes something that looks odd, it's not an accident. They're not a bad writer doing something clumsy. Anything that seems unusual, they're doing it deliberately to grab your attention and make a point. They don't accidentally just slap everything down there. A writer will be redrafting and getting it right. So it's not a coincidence that he's done this. Maybe. Equivocal word. Might be one thing, might be another. So how are we taking this? It feels positive. And I will say, I think this is a positive ending. He is now thinking of the future. He's now starting to think, I could do those things. Nicole gave me the gift of thinking, why don't I write a book about the war? And he's actually sitting and thinking about it. So for the first time in this book, he's thinking positively about the future, because previously the only time he's thought about the future was killing Larry LaSalle and then killing himself. Now he's thinking positively about what he could do in the future. And I think that's the bottom line. It is a positive ending. But maybe is an equivocal word, isn't it? So we've got maybe 4 times. Yeah, maybe I will write the book. Maybe I should buy a typewriter. Maybe I should find out a phone number for Dr. Abrams. Maybe I should track down Enrico. Maybe. Yeah, maybe not. He might not. He's thinking about it. Yeah. Miss Tompkins, maybe I should think. I never thought like that. Hang on, maybe I should think. Ooh. Is he going through what he ought to think, but maybe he won't carry that? Oh, I never thought of that. That's a clever point, that. Because when he then says, and that sentence on its own, these short sentences are drawing your attention to them, making you notice that pattern. I should do all those things. The tone's important, isn't it? I should do all those things. Or, I should do all those things. I think it is positive. But, Then there's the symbolism of the gun. Earlier on, when he went to see... Oh, hang on. A bit of mind reading here. Also, the comment about his gun feeling comfortable on his back is a hint. He's leaving it there. Maybe. Maybe. Exactly. Just mind reading. That was outstanding. The gun... I think of the gun inside the duffel bag at my feet. That could be, I think of the positives, then I think of the gun. But then I agree, it does sound positive, doesn't it? I pick up the duffel bag and sling it over my shoulder. The weight is nice and comfortable on my back. So the gun is no longer a horrible thing. Remember when he was going to see Larry LaSalle, I was going to call him Mark Lamarlin, Larry LaSalle, he said the gun feels like a tumour on my leg. So previously the gun has been a horrible, negative, bad thing. Now it's comfortable. So does that mean, it's just a thing in his bag. You know, I got my sandwich box is in my bag and it feels comfortable. You know, it's just not gonna kill me unless, of course, it's got poison in it, which is feasible. I mean, let's be honest, I've made a lot of enemies. Or is it just comfortable? It's just there. It's just a thing now. It's just an object. Of course, although I do think this is a positive ending, and he is now thinking of the future, we could also speculate. Remember, I keep saying it in English. You can speculate as long as you're going to give proof. So, okay, I'll do that. I'll do a little P for you. That came out wrong. My point, maybe he's not. This is not a positive ending. My evidence, the gun feels comfortable in his bag. My explanation, perhaps the gun feels comfortable in his bag because he's decided now that it is right to kill himself, and he is comfortable with that decision. I don't actually think that, but can you see my point about using this equivocal language when you're writing? That as long as you can back it up with evidence and a sensible idea, it's okay. So personally, if I was given this ending to write about, I think I'd mostly, well, I'd do exactly what I just said to you, wouldn't I? I'd mostly emphasise the positive, and I'd give lots of evidence of that, not just the things he says, but the way it's formatted with that maybe, you know, he's changing his mind, hey, maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll do that, but also that there's no definite positive language in it. So it's not certain, and you could argue the other way, you know, maybe not. However, remember that Nicole said, I don't want any false endings. Fake endings, rather. So this is not a fake ending. If Francis and Nicole had got together, that would have felt really fake, wouldn't it? It'd be wrong. It doesn't fit in with this book. This book's brutally realistic. So that would have been wrong. So he doesn't give us that. We might want it in our cute sort of rom-com world, but he does not give us that. And he doesn't give us either that satisfaction of him saying, oh, I've changed your mind. Because let's be honest, the guy's been suicidal since that massively traumatic, well, the two massively traumatic things happened. Now, I would imagine that's not something where you'll just flick a switch in the real world and say, oh, I'm fine now. Oh, it's all right. Yeah. It's all sorted now, isn't it? Like, you know, it's not sorted, is it? Those things happened. So I think it's realistic. It's not a fake ending, but it's a positive ending. But you could argue it the other way, and I would advise you to do so, really, if you're asked about that. The other thing I wanted to say about the ending is that it sort of encapsulates this idea of heroes. So big themes in this. What is a hero? You'll go through all this in lessons next year in much more detail. What is a hero? The sort of false identity idea, perhaps. What are people really? Which links quite heavily to that. You know, Francis hiding his identity. Is he a hero or not? Larry appears to be wonderful, does terrible things. And horrors of war. And here we have another example of the horrors of war, but more about the nature of heroism. The Master Sergeant, so he's sitting there in the railway station, Francis. The Master Sergeant is there. The war is now over, but he's still in his uniform, and it's still beautiful. Okay, it may still be in the army, to be fair. They didn't all just run away from the army after it ended. There was conscription, wasn't there, in Britain. My dad was in the army for 2 years after the Second World War because, you know, you don't know if it's going to flare up again. So they made sure all the men had done their basic training. Sexist world they lived in. So this guy is in his uniform, still smart. He's got all his ribbons on his chest, his medals, which I think Francis and Larry illustrate don't necessarily mean anything. Doesn't necessarily mean you're a hero, but he almost seems like he's trying to show off and say, look at me, I'm a war hero. And he walks past a young lad who's wearing an old battle jacket that's dirty and stained, and he's sagging against the wall, smiling, and then grimaces. And that reminds us of the pain of war, but also of the reality, because this makes Francis think of what Nicole was saying, what Arthur was saying. He wants to write about the real people, and he's given us those in the past, hasn't he? Talking about we were only there, as Arthur said. He realises that the real story of war is not the story you get in the newsreels in the Plymouth. It's not this glamorous image in the war films, and lots of war films to keep morale up. It's It's just the normal kids like him who suddenly were given a gun, given some basic training, and told to get out there, follow orders, and kill people. And they're terrified. And they suffer. And then afterwards, as he says, they're the ones who... Oh, I'll give you the line, because quotes, evidence. We were only there. Scared kids, not born to fight and kill. Who were not only there, but who stayed, did not run away, fought the good war, and never talk about it, and didn't receive a silver star. But heroes anyway, the real heroes who said, I'm not a hero, it's the people around me doing the basic things that are the heroes. I think he's been harsh on himself, but yeah, the guys who didn't get the silver star aren't in the Strangler's scrapbook, which is worthless. Just the people who were brave enough to go and do that, and didn't run away and fought the good war and never talk about it. He wants to tell that untold story. And I think that, again, it's given him purpose. He's not living on maybe even for himself. He's living on because he has a chance to tell those stories. Yeah? Right, that's Heroes. I think I'm done. Can I say thank you so much? I really enjoy doing these things, and I really enjoy the interaction. And I hope it's useful for you. You'll go through the texts next year again, don't worry about it. I mean, clearly. But you've got a head start now by knowing them. Inspector Calls then. I'll take a day off. Friday? Should we make it Friday? The toilet roll extravaganza that will be Inspector Calls. Sounds like a plan to me. But it's been brilliant. I've loved doing this. I will leave the thing running at the end, and I'll reply to comments. So I'll leave it running for another 10 minutes or so. But no, you're welcome. Thank you very much. I've massively enjoyed it. It's good fun. I enjoyed the pantomime bit best, though. That was a laugh. My dad... oh, Lydia, no problem at all. Thanks, miss. Oh, cheers. Nice one. Well, join us on Friday, miss, for Spectacles. Oh, Spectacles is brilliant. I tell you the good thing about English literature. The 3 books that we do, they're great. I mean, you've seen how good... Thanks, Jamie. You've seen how good of Mice and Men is. The Hero's a good book. Got a lot to get your teeth into, isn't it? And Inspector Calls is fabulous. Oh, every time you teach these books, the classes get really involved in them. So, fantastic, that. Excellent. Nice one, miss. I'll see you on Friday. Oh, yeah, I was going to finish off with my pointless story. I've not done it as much as I do in class, let's be honest. Don't tell the head. My dad did his national service. Cheers, Alfie. And he's got all sorts of weird stories from it. But obviously it's after the Second World War, so they're not expecting to be fighting. But the Korean War started, and Britain sent some troops. My dad had an ingrowing toenail and had to go to have it removed. When he came back, his battalion was gone. They'd forgotten he was in hospital. They'd all been sent to Korea. So he was a bit lucky not to be sent off to a war himself. Blinking heck. Man, scary. Right, anyway. I am off now, okay? But thank you very much. I've really loved it. See you on Friday for Inspector Calls.